Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 30th, and right now we're looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. You can clearly see our system pushing on in through Idaho and Montana as we speak. Some wraparound moisture occurring here. Still some heavy rain possibility across some of northeast Washington up into BC, Idaho, and Montana. Next trough is on its way. This energy out here is going to drop down across Pacific Northwest and set up shop. Bring some interesting precipitation amounts also. And then we'll look at the extended forecast as always in a moment. Look at SeaTac yesterday, only 62 degrees. 0.12 of an inch of rain. We'll take what we can get at this time of year. Beggars can't be choosers. We're still going to end up probably with a deficit here for the month of August. But yeah, not a bad day there yesterday, especially if you're a moss back across Pacific Northwest here. This is looking at thunderstorm activity. We'll be pushing off to the east. Shouldn't have to worry about it today. But there's a chance this next system could bring some storms, mainly across Oregon. We'll take a look at those details coming up in a moment. Looking at Spokane, National Weather Service got some flooding concerns up there, mainly across northeast Washington, Idaho Panhandle, and Montana there. Always with the good graphics, National Weather Service Spokane. That was issued about 5 a.m. this morning. And this is Medford here. Look at this. You might get some help with some of the smoke there with this next trough dropping down across the area. Again, some pretty good precipitation amounts showing up here and maybe some onshore flow as well. And this system here, if you click on the link down below, you can save 10% off. Very nice lightning detection system with this weather station. Stores all the data for you in the cloud. It can even give you notifications there once the lightning starts or once the rain starts falling at your house. Very fun weather station when the weather gets active. You can see all the lightning strikes there at my house as these storms passed by during the day yesterday. Now, this is looking at the NAM. This is yesterday's run, actually, and you can see this negatively tilted trough took its time getting across the area, and as we got multiple rounds of thunderstorms as we went through the afternoon and even evening hours before it finally pushed off to the east. And then here we go about when I'm doing this briefing right now, that low-pressure system spinning across the Idaho Panhandle into Montana. And then the next system drops down across the area here. And look at this trough just kind of set up right over the top of the Pacific Northwest, 60 hours out. This would be about Thursday night here, but could bring some nice precipitation amounts, especially across some areas of Oregon, help out with some of the fire activity, hopefully. This is looking at 500 millibars here, and this is yesterday morning's European model as well. And you can kind of see, as long as we were in on the negatively tilted portion of this trough here, we were getting some of that moisture continuing to train over the area in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that's what caused that thunderstorm activity to continue on in through the evening. And finally, that pushed out here very late last night, and then you can see the spin in the atmosphere as that storm system pushes off to the east. And then our next trough horizon. Look at this nice, strong jet diving right off the north here. Almost a nice setup here if you're in the middle of winter to get in some chilly precipitation, maybe some chunky rain or some snow across some of the area here. But here we are in the end of August, and it's just going to set up a nice trough here across the region and bring some good precipitation amounts, potentially to portions of Oregon especially. And we'll look at those details here in a moment. As you can see, additional systems move through as we go through this weekend as well, maybe bringing more precipitation across the area. This is looking at a wider view of things here. Alaska, BC, Washington. There goes our system that we've been dealing with for the last few days. Next trough opens up on the west coast here. A little bit of ridging builds in across the area. Then the next system swings through here, and then you can see more troughing behind that as well. So fingers crossed for that activity as we go on in through early September. Here's the NAM 3KM. This is hot off the presses this morning's run. You can see the spin in the atmosphere moving across eastern Washington, Idaho, Montana, and then our next storm brings a frontal system down across the region here. Trough will open up across Pacific Northwest and hopefully continue to bring some wraparound moisture back on the backside of the low as it moves down across California and Oregon here. You can kind of see that activity moving back across the Cascades here. That would really help out with some of the fire activity also. We'll be watching for that. Lightning flash density potential. I'm just going to show you this. You can see the system moving off to the east, and then the trough opens up. You can see some thunderstorm potential here as we go across Oregon, especially Thursday on into Friday morning here, maybe on the day Friday as well. So just kind of heads up for that. Nothing like what we just got with this last round across western Washington, Vancouver Island. We had thousands of strikes there over the last few days, folks. Pretty prolific lightning producing storm. Excuse me. Now we're looking at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet, and kind of see that area of colder air there, marking that system as it pushes off to the east. And here goes our next trough. You can kind of see this colder air get pinched off and cut off right along the west coast there. So hopefully that can spin for a bit right over California and Oregon and bring some much needed precipitation, especially to the areas of forest fire activity across northern California, southern and central Oregon also. This is looking at the GFS. So let's see if this is updated here. No, it's still last night's run, so we're just going to run with this. But we can look out in the future a little bit more here on the GFS. As you can see, the next trough, pretty good model agreement. Ridge tries to nose down here, but next troughing not too far off. As we go through the weekend, looks like another system is going to swing through late Sunday or on into the day Monday here, and then continued troughing as we go off into the extended forecast. As you can see, some tropical activity down there by Baja California. But look at all the troughing just kind of persistently continues on in through about September 10th here, at least according to the most recent GFS. Look at this, just kind of hangs out here all the way through mid-September. So kind of interesting stuff there. We'll watch this. This is just purely fantasy at this point, something to look at. Total precipitation in inches. Last night's European run. Look at the system move through some pretty impressive precipitation amounts across Northeast Washington, BC, Idaho, and Montana. Next system drops down here. You can kind of see this wraparound moisture continue for Oregon. Look at some of these values up over an inch across the Cascades, even some better amounts a little bit further south you go across California as well. But then the next system starts to arrive here as we go through the day Sunday, bringing additional amounts to the Cascades here, and maybe Seattle will get in on that action here as well. We got a little bit cheated here as far as I'm concerned about how much precipitation we got out of the last system. But some areas to the north and northwest of Seattle, especially underneath that thunderstorm band yesterday, we're picking up some nice precipitation amounts. So can't complain too much. Got to take what we can get at this time of year. This is looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Look at the nice blue signal here across much of the West Coast for below average conditions all the way through September 8th. This is the precipitation through September 8th as well. Above average signal continues to exist. Here's the excessive rainfall outlook. You know, if you're off in the backcountry here across northwest Montana and northeast Washington, Idaho Panhandle, watch out for that as you go through the day today, and you'll notice that precipitation kicking off to the east as we go. And this is for Thursday morning to Friday morning here. A little bit of a marginal introduced from some of the Cascades of Oregon into extreme southern Washington. Now, this is interesting here. This is basically the entire meteorological summer from June 1st to about September 1st. That's the 3 months we consider it to be summertime as far as meteorology is concerned. And you can see the below average precipitation, especially for western Oregon, western Washington, virtually all of Washington state, quite a bit below normal here. And you can see there is some above average across Idaho and extreme southeast Oregon, but these places don't get a lot of rainfall here. And a lot of that came with Hurricane and Tropical Storm Hilary. You can clearly see the path that it took up across California, Nevada, Oregon, Idaho, and across Montana and Wyoming here. But you can see this meteorological summer has been very dry for Washington and Oregon there, and some portions of central and northern California as well. So interesting stuff there. Now looking at average temperature departure, and as you can see, Pacific Northwest, again, warmer than normal, quite a bit warmer than normal, between 2 and 4 degrees for much of the Pacific Northwest here. And I wonder if that's because of the fire there across the central Oregon Cascades actually suppressing some of the temperatures because of the smoke, because much of the Pacific Northwest well above average here, June 1st through August 29th. And this is purely fantasy, but a little bit of fun here. This is the European model that runs out, I believe it's 46 days here, and this is Stampede Pass. This is snow. Check it out. Get on in towards the early portions of October, and some of the models are showing the first sign of snowfall here for the Cascades. This would be paradise. Look at that. The control has an inch of snowfall there. Just something fun to look for. It's always fun to see the first yearly snowflakes come down at some time in the fall across portions of the higher terrain. And look at this. This is a real fantasy forecast here. Whistler up in BC here. Check it out. A lot of snowfall showing up there by early October. Purely fantasy fun right now. It's just the European 46-day forecast. Don't get your hopes up too much just now. We'll watch that in the future. This is Seattle-Tacoma looking at 46 days as well. And you can kind of see we start getting more precipitation events this time of year. It's calling for over 5 inches of rain by the time we head towards mid-October there. But again, just a fantasy forecast fun there. And this is the temperatures. But this kind of shows what we're headed for here. You can see we still have the potential to be somewhat warm at times during September, but you can clearly see the trail off as we go on into early October. Temperatures really start to come down here across much of the Pacific Northwest as fall definitely going to be rearing its head here by the time we're on towards the mid portion of October, most likely. Now, yeah. So anyway, here comes our next system. There it goes. The old one is on the way out. Next trough coming for us here, and then potential additional troughs as we go on in through later this weekend, on into early next week as well. We'll watch those in a little bit more detail here as we go, but hope you guys enjoyed all that lightning. There are thousands of lightning strikes across western Washington, southwest BC, multiple days, multiple rounds. Very interesting stuff. Eastern Washington got a lot of activity there yesterday as well. And yeah, but anyway, we'll do the typical briefings tomorrow. Hope you guys are having a good day, and I will talk to you guys then.